Hello, good afternoon. Presently, there are around 27 million people being enslaved. This definition includes sex trafficking, child sex trafficking, forced labor, bonded labor, debt bondage, involuntary domestic servitude, forced child labor, unlawful recruitment, and the use of child soldiers. For this research project, I chose to look into sex trafficking in the continental United States. To aid in solving this problem, I am working on an open source tool that scrapes popular websites that have prostitution. The idea is sex trafficking forms a natural subset of prostitution, thus by classifying ads within that space, we can identify common themes of trafficking. Originally, I had chosen to scrape Craigslist and Backpage. However, national scraping right now takes far too long, and so I've only been able to scrape Craigslist at the national level. Okay, let's get started with the demo. Okay, so first we're going to go here, and I'm going to run single config py, and I'm going to pass it the argument for the New York Craigslist. Okay. Oh, sorry. What this did was it generated a config.txt file, which has your Craigslist, the casual encounters section of Craigslist, and then index 100, which will scrape 100 links, just the entrance in the, I'm not sure what the word I'm looking for is, doesn't matter. Okay, so now we're going to run automate.py, which is going to download all the links that I'm going to scrape, and that generates a file called URLs to scrape. Unfortunately, you have things like this, which are problematic, but don't worry, I take care of that. I actually clean the data in the next section. The reason I decided to modularize that out is in case, I think that it's important when you're dealing with unstructured data that you clean it. And right now I'm doing a very basic cleaning, but it could become more complex later, and so I think it's important to have a module for that. Okay, now URLs to scrape. And as you can see, there are a number of problems, but never fear. Run that. And look, all clean. Works wonderfully. Okay, now we're going to run recursive scrape. And what this does is it actually goes to each of the web pages listed in URLs to scrape, and it downloads them. So this is the long, laborious process that I was mentioning before. It's not as bad for one part of Craigslist. However, we'll get to in a little while why this can be problematic. But let it run for a couple seconds more. And in fact, let's go check out the folder this is populating, because that's always fun. Bleed and scrape results. All right, you can see here, I'm adding to it on the fly. Isn't that wonderful? All right. Well, we don't need to run this anymore. Okay, what's next? So now let's go into the final demo split. Okay, so here I'm doing a little bit of heuristics. So Craigslist has this nice little filtering thing that it does, where there's men looking for women, men looking for men, women looking for men, men looking for men, men looking for women, women looking for women, blah, blah, blah. So basically, I'm able to classify men or women based on this, because if W for M or M for W is in the HTML page somewhere, then you can say safely that it's a man looking for a woman or a woman's looking for a man. I haven't run into any false positives with that, so it's pretty key. All right, let's run results filter. men. Oh, I should show you my results folder first. Let's do that. So, alright. There's no results men, no results women. Don't worry about results.csv if you saw it. It's just an internal thing for me. Okay. Alright, now we can cd into results. And you can see there we got that guy. Alright, we can go back into results, and hey, look at that. Now we have both. Isn't that wonderful? So what that did is it filtered out all the posts that are men looking for women or women looking for men. Sadly, there wasn't a lot in that one. I don't know what that's about. Alright, must have been a weird scrape. So let's go into final demo, classify now. So I don't want to give too much away because the filter takes a while to run, but I got my results men and results women, so let's cd into that. We're just going to look at women for now. And what I've done is, oh, shoot, I classified all the results already. All right, let me move some fresh data into there. It won't really matter where it's coming from because it'll be able to figure out what's going on. Let's split. Cool, we're just going to grab a bunch of results from right here. Doesn't really matter where they come from. Naive Bayes doesn't care. That's one of the great things about it. Classify anything for you. Alright, so I'm just going to drop that in there. Let's move this. Cool. Now we're just going to run this. It's going to be fun. So now we've got some results in there, which is awesome, which is what we need. And now I'm going to run the classifier. I do this for women and men, but right now I'm just going to run it on women. What this does is it runs a naive Bayesian classifier. So let's break that down. Naive means that it's looking, well, I should explain what classification is generally, and then I'll look at individually. So the way naive Bayes works is it treats each word in a piece of text, so like a paragraph or something, as independent and as a feature of that data set. And you can sort of think of each word as like an event that happens. Anyway, so if you understand probability, this is meaningful. If you don't worry about it. But basically, I'm taking each of these posts, I'm treating each word as a feature, and then I'm classifying the overall result based on these individual features. So maybe the word sit, or maybe the word high, or maybe the word blowjob are things that all classify someone as likely to be a prostitute. Now, to train this data, I had to manually go in and train each of the results. So that right there, this line, just tells me that the scraper's almost done. Just an internal timing test for me. Anyway, so each of these features classifies prostitutes and non-prostitutes, and I use the prostitutes and non-prostitutes folder as my training set, which is how I assess the model's success ratio, because I look at pre-classified results and see how it does on that before I classify new results. I should get around 95% accuracy with this classification scheme. The reason this is useful is because once we can say with some level of certainty that our women or men are being classified as they should be, then it's easier to do statistical analysis and have some confidence about your results. So I'm going to do 3 sets of analyses. I'm going to do phone grab, which grabs the photos. Once I've processed these results and classified everything, I'm going to do a picture grab a bunch of pictures, and then I'm going to do posts over time. You'll see all that. But yeah, so 95% rating for this model, yay! So with my training data, naive Bayes does really well. And these are the features that it found most interesting. So sit, else, much, many, sexual, boy, meeting, whole, put, and breast. So those all sound like pretty reasonable things to classify someone as a prostitute. And then You can see these numbers. I apologize that it's not super pretty right now. It's just because of how big I had to make the text. But 29 is the most useful feature, and then 17 would be less powerful in terms of explanatory power. I'm surprised actually that breast is less explanatory. I guess for whatever reason it's not used as commonly. In any case, moving on. All right, so now we can do this at the local level, so New York City, which is not super local. That's still a lot of results, but we'd really love to be able to do this nationally, which is what I've done. So I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with this, but there's actually a ton of Craigslists, and it's international even. I only chose to scrape America because that's a big enough problem. Eventually I will choose to scrape the entire world, but it's going to take a bit. So New York has a lot, Texas has a lot, California has a lot. You know, there's a bunch of these that have a lot, and essentially my challenge was to scrape all these little purple dots. You can see there's quite a few of them. What's really interesting is that they lay pretty much on major roadways. So if someone was going to be trafficked and they were going to be moved from place to place, it'd be pretty reasonable to say, well, maybe if their picture came through a different Craigslist site over a short period of time, then we can classify them as likely prostitutes or not prostitutes. So Craigslist does this really nice thing where it naturally maps the entire country and all of its major communities. So if someone is moved from community to community as a form of control, then we can figure that out by looking at the pictures and how they move over time. And the way I check uniqueness of pictures is a number of things. So I look at the hash, I look at the metadata, I look at when the post was posting. All of these things come into play. Unfortunately, some of that code I'm still working on, and I don't have a fair amount of data yet for national scraping to be able to do this analysis, but it's the way I plan to classify women as being sex trafficked. One of the ways. I've got other analyses that I'm going to be running too. Okay. Unfortunately, there wasn't enough time to do this in the semester. Let's move on to national scraping. So, oh darn, I've already done it. Okay, let's delete all those results. We can do this really quick. Doop. All right. Okay. So what this is doing is what you just saw. It's going to generate individual instances of the scraper that I did on the just for New York on the national level. Great, and it doesn't take very long to set up, which is great. So let's just pick any old place, see Lincoln, say. All right, so all the files that are set up here, it's the same exact way that it was set up before, and I already ran the config.txt for all of those. So the reason this is great is now we have all the indexes set up, and I'm scraping around 10,000 pages, which is part of the reason it takes so long, and that gives me about a month's worth of data. Okay, so I could actually run through this and this, but I think it's more interesting to just say what they are and then maybe show you some of the code I did to do the analysis. Right, but this is the flow of control generally if you want to run the national scraper. So the next thing I should run is in national setup, but instead I'm just going to show you the code. What this does is it just runs automate.py for all of those, and you'll see this design pattern again and again in my code. It's very simple, but it's what needs to be done if I want to do this on all my results. Now we'll look at scrape. And as you can see, it's just the same idea, really. Oh, I did a bit of cleaning with this one, or I tried to. It ends up being cumbersome, so I had to do time stop sleep in order to get the results to actually uniform. There was some weird issues that I won't go into here, but it works now. I guess I can show you that really quick, just so you can believe me. Don't worry about that, should be fine. So what it's doing is, I scraped a bunch of these already, but anything that hasn't been scraped yet, it'll go through and actually do that, which is great. It's really fault tolerant. So I thought that was very important. So like, let's say a scrape stopped in the middle and didn't scrape some area, then this will go through and scrape somewhere else, which I think is a really great feature to have, especially when you're working with this much data. Unfortunately, I didn't clean any of these results, so you're going to run into some issues, but that's fine. I just want to show you that the scraper works and it's fault tolerant. Okay, great. So now I'm ready to show you some of my analysis that I'm doing. So let's go into picture and phone grab. All right. So yeah, let's actually go into base code. All right. And now let's look at phone analysis. So what I'm doing here is, I'll show you the main first. Oh, main's a little too big. Okay, well, I can show you most of main. So what this is doing is it's going into the prostitutes folder, because obviously those are the numbers we care about. We maybe care about some other numbers too, but basically I'm just going to look at the date and I'm going to append any phone number that I find. The way I'm doing that is first I turn everything into uppercase, because one of the things people do is, I'll just show you right here, is they'll write hi, like 7 with like a capital N, my name 9, right? And so what this is actually going to eventually go to is like a full number. So it'll be like, I don't know, 917 441 3214. I don't know this number. I don't know whose number this is. I'm just picking a random phone number. But it'll be written all in text. So the way that I handle this case is by first translating everything into uppercase, and then just replacing any numbers I find with actual numbers. And then that tells me if it's obfuscated at all. Sometimes people will just write things like, hi, 9, my name is 42, like something like that, and that'll turn into a number, and then all I have to do is just grab any digits that I find within the text body of the posting. So there's a number of ways you can do this. It was actually a fun little exercise for me to do. One of the more interesting pieces of this project. Okay, great. So now let's move on to this. So here I'm using Beautiful Soup. I'm actually thinking about porting everything over to Beautiful Soup for future developments of this project. Right. So here what I'm doing is I look for all the files that have pictures in them, and the way I'm checking that is pretty simple. I'm just doing regular expressions to see if there's JPG, because that's the only file type that Craigslist supports, so it's super easy to figure out if there's images in your post. So I go through all the pictures, if it exists, and then I just basically create, I add pictures to this array that I'm making here, and then I append all of them. Pretty simple, and I just write them out to a file, and then I've got the picture. So yeah, pretty easy. From there, I think I can get some EXIF data. I'm still playing around with this though, like I said. This is by no means done. I may have to figure out another way to download the pictures. There's a number of things that may need to happen, and it's not clear yet exactly how this is going to work. But for right now, I can say with confidence that I can, this is sort of a proof of concept. I can grab the pictures. Yep, so that's all of my analysis for right now. Thank you so much for watching, and have a good day.